at age 69, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Until then, I worked in, my background is advertising, graphic design. I worked in newspapers, I worked in advertising agencies, and then with the advent of computers, of Apple Mac, I was able to purchase the equipment and start my own agency, advertising agency. So I started writing. I never wrote anything in my native language. I chose in high school science, and I didn't never write anything meaningful in my own language. But I started writing advertising copy and nonfiction and actually documenting things. So when I was diagnosed with breast cancer and underwent double mastectomy and chemotherapy, and I joined a support group that was writing through cancer using writing for therapy. And I was introduced to poetry, and the first poem that was introduced was Mary Oliver, Summer's Day, and the last line was, "What are you going to do with your one blood and precious life?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, wow. And that struck me, and it was like a eureka moment. And I thought, if you can say so much and have such an effect, such impact with just one line of poetry, that's what I'm going to do. So that's how I started writing poetry, as to deal and process what I was going through, which was kind of like a very strange, new, and unexplainable experience. So I'm going to start with, so I will read poems, but also show you pictures that go along with it, and that's why I brought the pictures. And the first poem, actually the first poem sums up, it's like my bio. It was not included in the book, but it was in the paper when there was a write-up about it in the paper in September 29, before the launching of the book at the store. At Rediscovered Books, there was a write-up in the paper, and this poem was included, and I titled it Late Bloomers. When I'm 90, I want to be like you, Grandma Moses. Tiny little woman with mischievous eyes and a quick wit, who proved that even late in life a woman could embark on a new path. When your fingers bowed to arthritis, that uninvited guest who settles in your joints, you traded needle and thread for a paintbrush and rose to fame at 78. I was just 70, confronting a brush with mortality, when the road to recovery led me to the portals of poetry and injected into my veins the healing elixir. As I heard Mary Oliver asking, "What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" my response was resolute. I will write verse in the hope it lands me solace and resonates with those who follow. My first poem then was actually from breast cancer to neither. And I have a picture here of what and I want to explain that in Hebrew, there's only one word for both cancer. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
One word for both cancer and crab. So the zodiac sign of cancer is there also the word that describes crab. So in fact, you can order at the Red Lobster cancer case, or you can say I was diagnosed with breast crab. So because it's the same word, I was able to turn it into this image. So from breast cancer to neither. Is it neither or neither? I couldn't decide what's
It's either or either, so it...
They took away my breasts, but not my heart, and spared my brain. A void lined with memories, has filled with a new sensibility and a new definition of beauty. Nothing is more beautiful than life. Beautiful. Then comes closure. And that was my stage debut. I lived in Palo Alto and was very involved with the theater. And a local theater was giving a showcase for local writers. And I was able to read my poems and actually had visuals also. So closure. Today I clean out my closet. Close the final chapter of my book of boobs. And the saga breasts interrupted. The last remaining brassieres in my chest of drawers, still in perfect shape, head to Goodwill. May the lovely cups find a good home, a new bee-sized pair to have and to hold. Now, I wrote that when I underwent this experience. That was over 10 years ago. And when you have an experience, you always feel that this is the worst that could ever happen, and nobody ever had anything worse than that. But eventually, you realize that my definition of problems is what you think you have until you hear what somebody else has. I recently been writing poems inspired by the situation in the Middle East, in Gaza, in Israel. I was also asked to submit poems to an edition of Beltway Poetry magazine devoted to war and peace, or lack thereof. So I went back and I rewrote that poem because I got a different perspective now. Because after that cancer spirit, I'm fine, I'm thriving. In fact, I'm doing better. What I'm doing now actually is all thanks to, or as a result of something. So it's like from adversity to advantage, I call it. That something horrible actually brought about something amazing. But I think it's because of the way I deal with it, because we cannot change what happened to us, only how we deal with it. This is totally under our control. So I rewrote this poem and I titled it Young Widow.
I'm sorry, that's mine.
Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry.
No problem.
I forgot to turn it
No
off.
problem. It happens in concert venues. At the BCT, our local theater, they ask people to turn off totally because one time everyone turned it down to airplane mode or do not disturb, but Amber Alert.
Oh.
So all the cell phones in the audience were alerting Amber, and yeah, so.
She's such a great host.
I know. But it was good timing. It wasn't not in the middle of the
Yes.
poem, so it was okay. Yes. Don't feel bad. we've done worse. So I titled it Young Widow. She cleans out the closet of her soldier husband. With a heavy heart, she empties his chest of drawers. Underwear and socks, neckties, dress shirts, and double-breasted blazer will be deployed to the Salvation Army. Bare hangers on wooden rods left to carry memories of garments orphaned. Endless sorrow now rests on the vacant side of their double bed. Jolie came out and shared with the world the fact that she is going to get rid of her breasts because she wants to prevent herself from being diagnosed with cancer that killed her sister and other relatives, and then because she had young children, so she was going to do something so revolutionary. And the fact that she was openly talking about it because she wanted to raise the awareness of, because up until then people didn't really talk about it that openly. So that created a whole discussion about it, and different cultures, different countries, in different places, people relate differently to women, to women's bodies, to women's health. So this was a series of articles in the New York Times on the front page about how different, so in Israel, they interviewed this Dr. Moshe Inbar, who said, okay, I will read you the poem inspired by that, and I titled it A Dream. Quote, after her breasts are removed, a woman cannot have an orgasm, end quote. Middle-aged male oncologist Moshe Inbar tells patients who wish to lower the risk of developing breast cancer by preventive surgery. No, Dr. Inbar, you have no idea what it is like to be a woman. Undergo mastectomy, experience female orgasm. Standing in the shower, water running down my scarred chest, wand aiming warm stream along each leg and in between. No, Dr. Inbar, you surely have no idea. Late at night, the scene returns in my sleep. No recollection of Dr. Inbar, just the shower and a pleasant sensation. Call it a wet dream. By the way, his quote was, without breasts, a woman cannot have an orgasm. Not only without breasts, without men, right? So, what do they know? So I joined a program by Stanford and YMCA where they help women recover from by gaining strength, and so it was called Living Well, Living Strong, and it was really very helpful because for me, I developed lymphedema because the removal of the lymph nodes. So swimming, the pressure of the water and the massage really helped manage it, and that was really a lifesaver. So I was started going every day. This poem is titled Young Men Christian Association. To each their temple. My house of worship was established years ago for young men Christian. Today, YMCA is simply the Y. Why? Because now everyone is welcome, regardless of age, gender, or faith. Neither young nor male, Jewish by birth and atheist by choice. I attend religiously a daily ritual in the pool, like joining a minyan, gathering for morning prayer at the shul. I dip into the blue mikveh and under watchful eyes of young lifeguards swim like a gray-haired mermaid counting my blessings. So I was asked to send it to a Jewish publication, and they loved it, but they wanted me to change the title to The Blue Mikveh. Mikveh is a body of water that is used for ritual cleansing. I said, sure, fine. I stopped short of making it even more Jewish by changing the last line to swim like a kosher filter fish by Manishanit. But